Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we have a topic that is absolutely crucial for your success in the IELTS exam, grammar. Many test takers try to write or speak English without focusing on grammar, but trust me, it's impossible to excel without a solid foundation. So today we're going to explore 12 key grammar structures that you must know to have that impressive 8 overall score and above in the IELTS exam. But before we start, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button so that many people can see this video and benefit from it. And by the way, I've just launched a new course and downloaded it on the Udemy platform. It's very good for those who just start their preparation in IELTS and don't know anything about IELTS. And it's even good for those who just started their preparation. They can get a lot of new details from that course. The link is in the description. So let's talk about the first grammar structure. It's subject-verb agreement, and it may seem easy to you. You may say that, well, there's nothing difficult. I just take the subject and match it with the right verb. Well, not always so easy. You need to take into consideration compound nouns, noun phrases. For example, you would take the sentence, the number of people is on the rise. We have to say is on the rise and not are, although we are talking about people and it's plural. So we just need to remember that with the number of people we use a singular verb, and with a number of people we use a plural verb. But things change when we take another grammar structure, for example, neither and nor. It will say, neither the people nor the president wants to accept this law. So here we say wants, because we need to take into consideration the last noun, the president, and not the first noun, people. Now let's talk about complex and compound sentences. These are your secret weapons to elevate your writing and speaking in IELTS. Let's take the conjunctions like and, but, if, or because. We can use them to create these compound and complex sentences. Take a look at these examples. Students don't want to study science because it is difficult to study. Or parents want to spend time with their children, but they don't have enough time. So here we take simple clauses in one sentence, making a compound and a complex sentence. The next topic is punctuation, and it might not be everyone's favorite topic, but we need to keep in mind that it's very important for clear communication, and it's also very important in writing. So I will make a separate video about punctuation, but in this video I just want to explain it to you very shortly. So you need to know when to use colons, semicolons, commas, in which sentences. So mostly we use them in complex and compound sentences. We use them with relative clauses, with participle clauses. For example, it would take the sentence, parents want to spend time with their children, but they don't have time. Here we need to place a comma before but, because this conjunction links two sentences together in one sentence. But if we remove but, we have to place a semicolon because there is no conjunction. Articles, those tiny words like an and the, can be major stumbling blocks for many test takers and even for native speakers. So you need to keep in mind that every time you use a noun, you should ask yourself, do I need to use an article here? For example, it would take two sentences. Technology is a part of our life. We talk about technology in general. So when we speak about something in general, we don't use an article if this noun is uncountable. If it's a countable noun, we have to use a or an. But if it's a countable noun in a plural form, we don't use anything again. Or if we look at the next sentence like, people use the internet in their everyday life. So here we say the internet because it's a unique thing in the world. Unique things are used with the article the. Moving on to prepositions. These are small words which always give us big trouble. Well, some of them you'll need to memorize and some of them you can use logically. So it would take some prepositions like out, of. We can understand that they are mostly used when we remove something. And some prepositions we just need to memorize. For example, it would take the sentence, some economies heavily rely on only one source or resource actually. Well, rely on. So to rely is used with on. Or it would take the next sentence. Students become familiar with their sphere during an internship. So we say familiar with. We use the word to be familiar, this adjective, with the preposition with. Next up, we'll dive into the world of to infinitive and ing forms after verbs. You'll need to commit some verbs to memory because some of them we can just memorize. Like we say refuse to do something but deny doing. Of course, you can use logics as well. For longer actions, we usually take ing for shorter to infinitive, but it's not always like that. You just need to remember some of the verbs. Let's look at some real-world examples. For example, doctors sometimes refuse to prescribe unnecessary medicines while they prefer treating patients with natural additives. So here we say refuse to prescribe, but we say prefer treating. Gerunds, those verb ing forms which can be used as subjects and objects in a sentence, might be tricky. So it's important to learn how to use them correctly. And it's important not to mistake them for regular verbs. Take a look at this sentence. Reading remains an intellectually enriching pursuit, and his passion lies in solving complex equations. So here the first word is reading in the first sentence. It's a subject, and in our native language it can be just translated like a verb, infinitive verb. But it's the subject, that's why we use gerund ing, reading. Reading remains, subject verb. In the second sentence we have in solving, lies in solving. So we use gerunds also with prepositions. We don't use to infinitives with prepositions. Now let's talk about relative clauses. These are a fantastic way to make your sentences more complex and impressive. You can take two simple sentences and combine them in one. For instance, the scientist who discovered the cure is famous. The car which I bought last year is reliable. So we use relative clauses with relative pronouns like who, which, and that. And we should also be careful with subject-verb agreement in relative clauses. The next grammar structure is participles. Participles are actually the advanced grammar structure, and it's used by those who know English very well. Sometimes they can replace relative clauses. So instead of saying people who work in finance, you can say people working in finance. You can do this just succinctly conveying the same idea with the participle. When it comes to nouns, it's important to mention the usage of compound nouns and prepositional phrases. They add depth and variety to your language. For example, we can look at these sentences. She excels in the realm of market research, and his passion is cooking for friends. So the next important grammar structure is tenses. It's important to use different tenses, especially in speaking, because you show the examiner that you can communicate in English very easily. You know, tenses, you can show that you did something in the past, you are going to do something in the future, you are doing something right now, and so on. And besides, of course, it's important to use perfect tenses, perfect, past perfect continuous, present perfect continuous, and so on. And also it's good to use them in your writing as well. So for example, we would talk about the past and we mention the past, like he delivered an exemplary presentation yesterday. So if we say yesterday, we have to use past tense. But if we don't mention the time, we just say he has delivered an exemplary presentation. And the final grammar structure is adjectives and adverbs. It's very important to distinguish them. So adjectives are usually paired with nouns, so they modify nouns, and adverbs modify verbs, but sometimes adverbs can also modify adjectives. For example, we can say he adopted a meticulous approach to the task. Meticulous is an adjective and it's used with approach. Or we can say she addressed the issue thoughtfully and systematically. Addressed thoughtfully and systematically. Here we have two adverbs which modify the verb address, to address. And that wraps up our comprehensive guide to 12 key grammar structures that you need to excel in IELTS. Remember, mastering these grammar structures takes time, but it's a journey well worth it. In the future videos, we will delve deeply into each of these grammar structures so that you will know it better. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button so that you won't miss any video in the future. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.